Welcome back to episode 46 of the Xbox North podcast. This week we are discussing the lackluster last half of April and just April in general Game Pass release. Kingdom Hearts 4 also was announced as well. It looks like it's sharing a little bit of DNA from Final Fantasy Versus 13 that never came out. Also, it looks like we got some discussions with another Xbox podcast from the creator of OddWorld about the disappointing state that OddWorld game was left after PlayStation Plus release. But with that out of the way, please like, share, and subscribe if you can. That is. But Dan, with that out of the way, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm slowly but surely working my way through Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. I'm just working it step by step, and so far I've figured out who Roland's character is, and they kind of like subtly address that because, like, spoiler if you haven't played much of Borderlands, but Roland dies. And so Tiny Tina doesn't really accept that 'cause she's like a kid in the like apocalypse, and she's just playing this board game with everybody. So it's kind of weird because, like, yeah, it's an interesting take on her background character and everything, and like, yeah, you get to see all the other characters show up and they get to demand to be in the game or decide if they don't want to be in it or whatever. And yeah, I got a specialty sword gun because one of the characters got all excited and was just like, okay, so it has to shoot like a big sword that explodes into smaller swords that also explode, just to be the awesomest like sword gun that you can have. She's just like, okay, so that's what it does.
It's like, so say it. And isn't she like narrating in the background the entire time?
Oh yeah, she's the dungeon master.
So
or the bunker master, I think. Because it's bunkers and badasses instead of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay. Do things change like on the fly for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's like there was one jumping puzzle, and basically like if you fail the jumping puzzle enough time, like at first the jumping puzzle is literally impossible. So like you can get across like these 3 stones, and then you can't actually get there. The characters that are playing you are basically just like, okay, this isn't like you can't get past here. So she's like, all right, fine, I'll make it doable. And there's a way that you can do it, but if you fail that enough times, she's like, all right, fine, I'm just going to put a bridge in.
It's just like, you're just so fail here. Like,
yeah.
Just like, let's just break the rules for you. That sounds pretty interesting. How does it run? Like, let's say, considering it was a game that was, it is on last generation, like Xbox One and PlayStation 4, but it is on current generation. So how does it look compared to, let's say, older Borderlands games?
So the Assault on Dragon Keep is like the first DLC before Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the new game that came out. And it's basically, it is, because it's DLC, it is like Borderlands 2 or 3. I think it's Borderlands 3 characters. And then...
was it 3 or 2?
I think it was...
I never played 3, that is.
Might have been 2. Because it was...
I know, like 2 had like
expanded characters. It had the Psycho and the Ninja, like Zero and everything. Because I play as Zero, and but yeah, no, it has the older gen feel for that one. But Tiny Tina's Wonderlands actually has like a nice newer next gen feel. Like it feels like it's faster. It looks better. It's brighter colors and everything. And
okay. Nice variety in environments and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it even expands on like what they're doing in this one. When I first started the Assault on Dragon Keep, I wasn't too sure about it because it seemed kind of like slower paced at first and everything, but then you start to get into the story and it just introduces it a little slower. The second one just throws you right in, and it's just like, no, you played this before, so you're going to play this. Like now. And so like, yeah. When I was playing it with Lanta and everything, we were getting into it, and it throws you into like an actual like board world view. So your head gets all huge and you're really small, and you kind of like, it's like, okay, you're traveling from town to town. You go through here instead of doing like an actual mission and everything. So I guess they're trying to...
It reminded me of switching, like going from town to town in like an old Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly like that. And it was weird because it was even kind of like Pokemon-esque because it has you walking through like some of the tall grass areas and you'll just have random encounters.
Yeah, and you have to go into like a shooting gallery or something.
Yeah. I'm interested like once I actually beat that because then I look into like all the Easter eggs and everything that I might have missed along the way because they've had like Minecraft ones in the past and like all sorts of crazy stuff. Like the Borderlands universe is great for that, so I'm excited to actually get into more of that and try it out.
Anything else you've been playing or watching or?
Well, we've been playing a little bit of the Remnant.
Yes, so we have. That's been really
That one's been crazy. It's been super fun. And you've been playing some Elden Ring, which I really want to play. And then on Monday, the Batman came out.
Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about the Batman a little bit here. Because might as well. That's something I watched on Monday as well. So what did you think of it? Initial thoughts of...
It was good. It felt like one of the like closest to the comic style Batman movies that I've seen in a long time, I think. And it just had the right feel for me anyways. It was interesting. Like, it was darker than some of them. It was funny because I rewatched the Dark Knight series just before I watched this one. And it felt very old. It's an older movie now.
Yeah, it feels different, eh?
Yeah, and the new one's just like you can tell like how they've come so far with like just the animation and everything, all the special effects and stuff, and it was an interesting contrast to look back at that movie and be like, wow, that one's actually pretty old now. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah, some things don't hold up, I find, in the Dark Knight trilogy. And the Dark Knight trilogy never was my... They're good movies. Like the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker was incredible. But they were never my kind of cup of tea for Batman. I feel like the Batman movie kind of has that nice kind of fine line between unbelievable but realistic as well. Yeah. Like his outfit's crazy. Some of the shots he takes to the chest, this guy is absolutely crazy. But
yeah, it's got to be some big armor.
Yeah, right. I liked his the voiceover in the movie. His like commentary. What are they? I don't know why that word's slipping me, but I liked him talking in the background. The opening shots of the movie really reminded me of the 1989 Batman movie, where I find the first 20 minutes of that 1989 Batman movie really sets up what Gotham is to the police being corrupted. So like the first shot of the 1989 movie is a shot of the skyline of Gotham. It's this beautiful looking Gothic city. It's just dripping in atmosphere. And then it goes right into a shot of this immigrant family going through the streets kind of asking for a taxi. And then they decide just to go down the wrong street in Gotham City, and they get robbed by these thugs. And then they're talking on the roof, about this rumor of a bat. And then lo and behold, Batman comes and just holds the guy over the ledge, and he's just like, "What are you?" And he's like, "I'm Batman." There was like, I felt that kind of moment in this movie.
Absolutely.
With the starting of that, they show like the corruption in the city, the atmosphere when that bat signals out, the fear that goes into criminals.
Yeah, just looking down the dark alleys.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's looking down the dark alley. He's
getting there. Should we do this? Like,
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And then they show that first shot of him, just like you hear the footsteps of him coming in and just taking on that group of thugs, and just really showing the kind of anger and visceralness of, if that's even a word, of this particular Batman.
Especially with that first guy. Like, they showed it in the trailer and everything, too, where he's just hammering away on him. And, like, doesn't stop when he probably should have stopped.
Oh, apparently
just
that
to, like,
was...
put that extra fear into them.
Well, apparently that was Robert Pattinson who put that in there. He was supposed to start with I'm Vengeance and then beat the guy. But then he decided to start with the beating and then he added the extra 2 punches at the end when it wasn't in the script, just to kind of show that his Batman's a little more brutal than other Batmans. And then he did the I'm Vengeance at the end of that instead of at the beginning. Apparently that was all him, which I like. It does show like his Batman's a lot more brutal. His suit really reminded me of... Do you remember New 52 Earth 2 Batman? He had more of like a plate
armor
look to it with like the collar and stuff.
Yeah.
That's his suit really reminded me of that. His suit looked great in my opinion.
And I was seeing some like theories online of like the bat symbol, how it's that like piece that's actually built into it and everything is possibly like a taken apart like Joe Chill's gun or something.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Like carved it out of that. Like that's pretty cool.
He melted it down and turned it into this bat symbol knife. Which, man, your parents died in front of you, but you take it to another level, but for sure. I hope he refines his Bruce Wayne in the next movies for as well. I'm not going to get into any spoilers because it's such a fresh movie. It's just hit streaming service and everyone is probably hopping on it. But the movie is... I look forward to the sequel because I kind of want to spoil things. All right, spoilers right now. Get into spoilers. Getting into spoilers. Sorry. How'd you feel about essentially the bad guy winning at the end of the movie?
Yeah, that was interesting. I was not expecting like him to have missed that whole exactly. Like missed that whole piece, and then the bad guy is just like he didn't figure out like the whole
when the biggest clue was there, like the weapon that he killed people with was the carpet a thing to pull up a carpet hacker, and like where did he find it? And there's a huge carpet underneath them, like it was right there, like and it just shows that he's still like really fresh into this. He's not the world's greatest detective. This guy was carrying him along the whole time, and in the end, even though they got the Riddler, but he turned himself in. So the movie is ultimately a movie about Batman failing and failing hard, in my opinion. But also comes out on top as helping. Like, can you really blame him in a sense that he did fail, but these actions did expose a lot of corruption? So you can say that the Riddler in the end succeeded more than Batman, but Batman came out as the good figure because he overall tried his best and still helped citizens. Like, I felt like this was the first Batman where, like, man, he's like working right along the cops and stuff like that. It was very
like they're just letting him right on the scene and everything, and like he's very
cool,
much
though. I like that.
It was interesting to see it, how he's just walks on scene. No, he gets presidents, and like half the guys are even just like, you can't just like, why are you? He's just stares at them and goes right in anyways.
I'm used to, like, in the Batman, more so the animated series, because I feel like even in the movies they never really got into his detective ness. Being a detective and like really solving crimes. Besides that, like one stupid bullet scene from The Dark Knight where he like recreates the bullet, and I'm just like, to get the thumbprint, I'm like, that is some stupid stupid shit right there. But,
yeah, like that's not how you. No.
that's not how that works. But okay, I'm like, you can recreate the bullet, not the thumbprint on top. There's the thumbprint when he loaded the gun. Like, all right, that is a stretch right there. But
yeah.
I'm so used to him coming to the scene after the cops have left, like in the middle of the night, you know?
Yeah, just like shows up before they get there and is gone before they like need to look at anything. They did do like a few stealthy parts where like he's kind of like hidden and comes out and just like he's there. But I felt like they didn't really do that as much as they could have. Like, yeah, like pretty much every crime scene, he just walked on and was like, all right, I'm going to go look at some stuff.
Yeah. So I'm curious how the next ones will be set up. I think they'll be setting up the Court of Owls. In my opinion, the next one should not be the Joker. They should go into Hush because they totally set it up with the video
tried to intimidate the
Riddler
one
plays.
guy. Yeah. Edward Elliot?
Just like, Edward Elliot and the Hush money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're implying some stuff for sure. But overall thoughts of we liked the Batman stuff.
Oh yeah. It was good.
Great movie.
It was awesome. Definitely check it out.
I look forward to the Gotham TV show based off the Commissioner Gordon or I guess not Commissioner yet. Not yet.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, what did you get up to this week?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring, Dan. Not gonna lie. Elden Ring has sorry, I've been coughing. Elden Ring has captivated me, essentially. I've started my character 3 times now, and I'm very satisfied with the one I'm playing now. It's a game where you honestly have to kind of look at a guide, and I kind of looked at this get OP really like just right at the start. You can hit all these places without even finding, and then I kind of centered myself back to the beginning, and then I'm working my way through the beginning map. But that game, it just clicks eventually. The combat clicks, how to block enemy moves, managing your stamina, finding openings in characters' animation, finding that opportunity, like running and then jumping and doing your like heavier attack on them, or just getting that like perfect dodge, or even jumping and getting that sword swing underneath you. It's really visceral and very kinetic and responsive, and it just feels good to get into a one-on-one sword fight with somebody in the game. The game is really cool, and the environments are gorgeous and huge and leveled and varied, and there's just so many little nooks and crannies, and the game doesn't tell you anything. It truly just puts you in this world and says just go anywhere you want. And do it yourself as if you are waking up in a world for the first time and having no idea about this world you're in. And the game respects you in that way. But man, it can get tough. But the game is so beautiful that it makes you want to continue. So a great example. Dude, like listen to this. I'm exploring in the first air zone area, and I find this stone building, this round stone building. And I go in it, and there's an elevator in the middle of the room. And I press the stone tablet in the middle, and I start going down. But the chains going down are these magical chains, and then the symbol on the floor below me starts glowing. And I'm going down, and then the environment around me just starts getting bigger and bigger. And I keep on going down, and then it turns into this huge cavern, and you can see like castles in the fucking sky with like space. And I keep on going down, and then I get off the elevator, kill a bunch of guys, and then go further in. And there's this huge underground area that has like a starry space sky that has beautiful castles floating, just like a whole huge environment to itself, like a legit outside zone to itself that's completely different. And I just found it randomly going down an elevator. And I'm like, this game is like crazy. I'm like, what do you even do down here? The game's not telling you anything. You could just get lost down there and just figure out the story of this crazy place that you found underground that somewhere in space, apparently. So the game is so cool, dude. Like, it's like nothing you've ever played. It's like nothing I've ever played, to be honest. It's such a world that exists, and you're kind of really a part of it, but also you're learning the rules of the world, and learning those rules make you feel more connected to it because you learn the rule. So it's like learning like a new language, and you feel really good about like saying that like sentence, for the first time that you learn. It's like nothing I've ever played, for sure.
It's pretty crazy. Like from what I've heard anyways, I'm excited to try it out because I haven't tried it just yet, but it looks amazing. From everything that I hear about it, like the lore is super deep. It reminds me of when I was getting into like the Elder Scrolls series and everything. It was like amazing just to start out in like Morrowind and be roaming around trying to like find some things, figure out where you're supposed to go. It just kind of like leads you in a direction and everything. And then just like exploring and finding all the books and reading about people and like finding out about like, a hidden cave that's off in the distance over here that you can go to and you can figure out about, and you'll get a cool special item from it. It's just like, I love those exploring type of games that like really get you into the world.
Yeah, this game is so like that, Dan, to the point where it will be like, to the point where the game can give you entire zones like that underground zone, but you'll have to do like weird things to get to this place. So I was watching a video where it was like 10 zones that are like crazy in this game. And one way to get to one of them was you needed these two items, these two pieces of this item. One of them they found no problem, but the other one was in a jar. Like they randomly hit this jar and there was a person inside it, and the guy gave them that piece. And that's how they found it. And it unlocks this whole other area. There's even this door that's made out of flesh, and it's in the deepest part of the most obscure part of the game. And no one could figure out what this door did, and you couldn't interact with it. And then they just randomly like took all their clothes off of the NPC and went near the door, and then they were able to interact with it. This game is like that level of crazy.
Yeah, thinking outside the box and everything. That reminds me of like, the older games where you're like, oh yeah, no, you got to try like everything you possibly think of. Like sometimes you got to turn off the console or something, or like unplug a controller. Like now they're doing it mostly all in game, but like I wouldn't doubt there's something to do in Elden Ring where it's like, okay, you gotta like unplug your controller, flip it around 3 times or something, and like do the Konami code, and then it'll unlock a door somewhere.
There's even at the beginning of the game, you fight this guy in this one cave, and he kind of asks you halfway through the fight to stop, and you can decide to like kill him or stop. And then he'll be like, okay, yeah, thank you. And then if you load back into the area, he's a merchant there. then you can buy this one item that will help you like lock down this major boss you're about to fight. But like if you didn't do this obscure thing,
if you didn't just stop right there,
yeah,
and you killed that guy, and it changes the whole game for you. It makes it way harder.
yeah, it's pretty unique. But honestly, I could talk about Elden Ring for a while, and I look forward to getting further into just exploring this crazy world. And you need to get it if you can find it on sale or something.
Yeah. I think probably first sale it comes out on, like, I gotta grab it. I've been hearing about these like $10 gift cards going around for Xbox Live, but I haven't seen one yet.
What, like Microsoft like randomly sending you one?
Just like they'll randomly send you in a chat, just like, hey, this is for like the spring sale that's coming up. Here's $10. That would be sweet.
Gimme, right?
Right?
Yeah, for real. All right, well, let's talk about.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some games as well, and get into our topics for the week. So, first topic we're going to talk about is Game Pass. So we finally got to see the last half of April's Game Pass releases, and to be honest, they're kind of lackluster. This month, in my opinion, has just been completely a flop for my personal taste. I know their big release was MLB The Show for April, and I'm not really a baseball guy, so that doesn't really speak to me. And getting that game on day one is probably pretty expensive. But if you remember, we were supposed to have a certain game this April. It was actually supposed to be Stalker 2 was supposed to be released this April, and that got pushed back into December, and then probably further past that, considering, they're out in Ukraine. So, and I feel like there's been with the Atomic Hearts as well, and just COVID lockdowns kind of really impacting the industry. And I feel like that's kind of all ended, but we're starting to feel that tail end of it right now. What do you think of these release of the last half of April?
I mean, nothing that like stands out to me super huge. I know 7 Days to Die has had some good reviews and everything, and Unsold looks kind of cool, but yeah, there's nothing really that exciting right now. It was like, MLB The Show is like the big one this month, and I'm not a huge sports guy either, so unfortunately, we'll have to have Andrew back to talk to that.
Yeah. I noticed we are getting one game that could be pretty interesting at the last half is Bug Snacks, which was actually a big PS5 console exclusive.
Oh, yeah.
So we are getting that. I hear the game gets pretty dark. I think Pokemon, but you're catching creatures that are based off snacks. Sounds
okay. Weird. Yeah.
But I hear the game goes kind of in a weird dark place. But I really hate seeing on here releases like F1 2021 Cloud Only or Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered Cloud Only. Those have been on the service for the last couple months, and I really hate when you see a spot, like a full box spot taken up by just a cloud-only release. Are you kidding me? At that point, that means technically we've only, for the last half of the month, we only got 5 games, really? Which is, call us spoiled on the Game Pass front, but it's just, there was nothing really good, and May is not looking much better, in my opinion, for releases. We could possibly get Warhammer 40K Chaos Gates.
Yep.
I know our buddy Mr. Boomstick XL will be rooting to try and get the Evil Dead, the game, if it does release on Game Pass. Hopefully we can get something like that. But the last half of April and just April in general, I haven't had a month in Game Pass where I'm just like, nothing really spoke to me.
partially because of Elden Ring, I wouldn't doubt. It's like
Yeah,
they're just we're
probably.
gonna have to save some games for like later months because people are just hooked on Elden Ring right now.
Well, it's
Like
such a
everybody
big
that I
game.
know, even like half the guys on our DayZ server and everything have just been playing Elden Ring in their spare time.
Yeah, right? Like, it's such a big game. It's hard to comprehend. It's hard to comprehend how big that game is, to be honest. Like, a part of me is just like, I can't wait to, get off and even start playing it tonight. But a part of me is just like, yo, I'm never finishing this game. I'm never going to get everything out of this game. I may never even make it to the end of this game. What the fuck am I doing? Why am I even playing this game? Dan, get on Remnant right now. Let's just play Remnant. So I obviously Game Pass has always delivered. It happened to have not delivered at this particular month, at least for our taste. But how do you feel about when you see something that is cloud only released?
I think it's it really calls for like we've been talking about. It's like a cloud only tier of Game Pass. Like if you're gonna just have all these cloud only releases and everything, like really make that more apparent, make it more visible, make it more usable. There's lots of people who just don't have a console at all, aren't really looking to get one, but they got a phone or they can afford a controller or something. And I know people that would love to play on that.
Yeah, I know people who have decent internet, like really good internet. Like my buddy Kingsley, he has really good internet, and if they just had a cloud-only tier that he could access either through his TV app or more access like that, I feel like they could have a lot of success like that. But I bet it also comes down to having enough consoles in their server blades to introduce a tier like that.
Yeah.
Because it's probably a lot different than, let's say, Netflix, where they can just probably stream something off the most minimal piece of like hardware in their server farms, where like each person is actually running a Series X in the server. So supporting potentially millions and millions of people, that's putting millions of Series X's into your server blades, which can't be cheap. I can understand why there's rumors that they are working on a more energy efficient chip right now, but same specs.
Yeah.
But that always happens, right? Like,
oh yeah. If they can get the energy cost down, then I mean it saves everybody money and just makes them better too. So it makes them a better option anyways.
And they hit their environmental goals, right? Because they're so concerned about the environment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet Apple's super concerned about that. Completely machined out of aluminum MacBook, our Mac Studio they just like came out with. That is like super complex. I bet the minerals and stuff came from the most
renewable of resources.
Yeah, exactly. The most friendly to human rights resources, right?
Yeah. One day somebody's going to make some decent biodegradable computers or something like that, hopefully, and to be able to get some of the planet back.
When you make something out of plastic, like it'd be cool if they started coming out with Xbox Ones that the whole body was made out of recyclable plastic. Like I don't know why they couldn't just do something like that. Obviously, microchips and boards, they need those materials to make it, but hopefully governments and people can start getting them from more ethical places. But that's a completely different topic. But I'm sure hopefully we'll get a better May out of Game Pass. But they need to introduce a stream-only tier if they're going to keep on justifying putting complete spaces in their release blocks for games that have been on the service for months and months and months.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of yeah, right. But speaking of other services and services in general, it looks like we have a very prominent developer, Lauren Lanning, the OddWorld creator, spoke out recently on a Xbox podcast about the deal with PlayStation Plus, and their release on there was disastrous, actually, for the release of OddWorld Soul Storm specifically.
Yeah.
He said the reasoning for that was most likely due to the fact that they got delayed till April, and there was more PlayStation.
They had like a pre-existing deal or whatever to release it on PlayStation Plus, right?
Exactly.
And so, so that really sucks because if you're like, it apparently came out on PlayStation Plus within the same month that it actually released, so they had like almost no time to actually get it onto the streaming service and try and make some money off it and everything. So it hurt them a lot, but it had a huge, awesome release and lots of people playing in that first month. But unfortunately, a lot of those weren't paid subscriptions. Well, they were paid for as subscriptions rather than the actual game.
Yeah, and it looks like their deal was more of an upfront deal instead of like based off royalties and how many downloads they got, because 4 billion downloads is a lot of downloads. So I would imagine if their deal was more catered to around to, if I hit this milestone in downloads, we get this check from you guys. I'm curious if the deals for PlayStation Plus are a lot more cut and dry compared to what we've heard on the Xbox Game Pass front, where things seem to be a lot more they run the gamut. They could be from royalty deals to pretty much anything they've said. Every deal could be catered to what the developer needs. And I think that's what makes Game Pass so appealing to developers, specifically indie developers, and they see a lot of success out of that.
Yeah,
exactly, right? Well, you can see some games have just never left Game Pass, like No Man's Sky. That game never left Game Pass. I bet No Man's Sky is a great example of, they probably have a royalty deal on how many people download the game and interact with it. And No Man's Sky is a great game now that it's so multiplayer focused, and they even did just a huge update on it just recently.
They keep releasing huge updates, and they're still saying like we're just beginning. And so every time they release an update, it's like they get a surge of players that are jumping on and checking out their new content because they're putting in genuine big pieces of content every time.
And because it is cross-play, it's easy for a person playing on Game Pass and being like, hey, this game is actually legit. And then their friend's like, oh, I'm going to buy it on Steam. I'm very curious that no one probably knows what those numbers are because it's so like, how would you know what a person's like buying? Like, you'd have to put a survey out, which would be an interesting survey to have on Steam, that if any game that is on Steam that is also on Game Pass, I would love to see them put a survey where it's like, did you purchase this game because a friend told you about this because of Game Pass or something like that? I would love to understand those metrics.
Yeah.
And I feel like No Man's Sky is the perfect game for that, where it's very appealing and you can be like, hey, on Game Pass, try it out. Or, oh, you played it at my place on Game Pass for a bit, and they go home and purchase on PlayStation or something like that.
It's easy to like play with other people and everything. Like it has one of the best multiplayer experiences that I've really ever had, because not only does it play on the console and on PC and everything, it plays in VR too. And like I can just jump in the world, and I have a friend code for No Man's Sky rather than just Xbox or whatever. And then I can just like, once I've made friends in there, they always show up in my No Man's Sky, no matter where I'm logged into. And then I can just jump into their games and everything. It's awesome.
I also feel with PlayStation Plus, that kind of model, a different game. Well, there is a typical kind of game we see succeed on PlayStation Plus, and it's games like Fall Guys or Rocket League. I feel like Fall Guys and Rocket League are prime examples of a multiplayer game that one of them is even free to play at this point, Rocket League.
Yep.
Got huge buzz because they launched first on PlayStation Plus and kind of grow from that initial buzz. But those games are very replayable and monetizable as well. And the word of mouth spreads a lot more for a game like that. And I feel like a single player game like OddWorld just doesn't really fit that model because people will be one and done on the weekend. It probably comes out most likely, or the week or so, pretty quickly. And then that buzz for that game really can die out quickly, in my opinion. And the reviews for this particular game, which was a remake, were kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
So I feel like
I love the older OddWorld games and everything. Like I remember playing them on my Game
Monsters
Boy.
Odyssey.
Yeah, playing some on the PlayStation Plus and stuff. Oh, it was awesome. Or sorry,
like
PlayStation Portable.
Yeah, or portable. Okay.
PSP. It's a PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Portable. They're using that acronym too much.
yeah, a PSP, right?
Don't blame it on them. It's definitely not my fault. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, is the acronym for PlayStation Plus the PSP? Like,
yeah. Such a PSP subscription? Like what? That's a subscription?
I thought that was like the PlayStation Pro. No, I mean PlayStation Plus. He's like, what tier you got? Yeah, I got the real shit one. And he's like, what, you mean the highest tier? Yep, that one.
Yeah.
But that's kind of upsetting to see that it was pretty devastating for their company because apparently really their sales after were clearly not good.
Yes, hopefully, like, I guess you live and you learn. Like, you'll have to write something into your next contract for that sort of scenario. If you get delayed, then, like, the release of that, like, on the cloud service gets delayed as well because that's the only way to really handle that sort of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm curious if we'll see him embrace services like PlayStation Plus or Game Pass in the future, considering what he dealt with. But we are starting to see him starting to release games actually on Xbox again. I'm pretty sure this game released on Xbox not too long ago. But from what I remember, he had a bit of a rocky relationship with Microsoft, so I wish him the best, and the OddWorld series is a classic. I would love to see a sequel to Munch's Odyssey, more of going down the 3D platform route instead of these more 2D adventures that the company has been working on lately. And hopefully with game engines like Unreal 5 being more accessible and more advanced, that we can get some interesting stuff out of there. But speaking of an Unreal 5 game, and I'm almost positive it's Unreal, Square Enix has announced Kingdom Hearts 4, and it looks like it's heading in a different direction, starting off a whole new saga based in the real world, surprisingly. And this has, because it's based in the real world, it has potentials for properties like Star Wars to be introduced or Marvel potentially. And it looks like it shares a bit of DNA from, if you do remember the old, never been released Final Fantasy Versus 13.
Oh, yeah.
So, Kingdom Hearts. Dan, I know you. You are the biggest weeb here and a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. Are you excited? And if you didn't detect the sarcasm,
I actually haven't played much of. Yeah, I haven't played much of Kingdom Hearts at all. But like, I've always heard good things, and from what I have played of it, because I've played like a little bit here and there at like a friend's house and everything. It was always more of a PlayStation game, so I never really had one of those growing up, so I didn't get too much of a chance to play. But I always loved the idea of like it's almost like a Smash Brothers type universe, right? Like you're pulling like characters from all sorts of different places and cramming them all into one game and like kind of making interesting plot points from that and making interesting combo moves and everything. So it was always cool to see. And with my kids getting so into Disney and everything now with Disney Plus and getting to show them all the old stuff and they get to see the new stuff, it'd be cool to to get into it with this new game.
Yeah, and it'd be something to even go back and show them kind of the older titles. It is, like you were saying, kind of these Smash Bros. Of, you can say, Square Enix games, where it takes that Final Fantasy world and Disney and smashes them together. And I like the idea of this being a new saga, a new kind of stepping stone in a different direction in story, because the story was honestly getting way convoluted, and all you need to do is go on YouTube and look up the story of Kingdom Hearts, and the video you'll probably find is like 3 hours long. Like, it gets really convoluted. There's a lot of side games. There's a lot of characters, time travel, rebirth, all
it's like
sorts of
trying to catch up with the Marvel movies. I've been rewatching those, and man, they're basically going to be able to have all of that in Kingdom Hearts if they want, because Marvel's a Disney property now.
Did you watch the trailer?
I haven't checked out the trailer just yet, but I saw it just now being put in there, so I didn't see it earlier.
So they do some interesting stuff in the trailer, like him kind of zooming through the city, and he kind of grapples his key sword to him and does very cool traversal stuff through like a metropolitan, like Tokyo area.
Okay. Almost like Spider-Man-esque.
Yeah. And very cool moves. I don't know if it was gameplay, but if it is, that's what kind of reminded me of the Final Fantasy Versus 13. They had this very like in-city fighting in a metropolis, like crazy view. So yeah, I do look forward to it. I won't linger on Kingdom Hearts 4, but I do look forward to the new direction this is going. All right, Dan. With that said, I am looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 4 for sure. But with that said, I think we made it to the end of the show.
Right. Yeah, I'll have to check out some of that Kingdom Hearts too. Hopefully they got some decent co-op, or I can get my kids going on it and have them playing as some Disney characters they love. Yeah. All right, so yeah, don't forget to smack that subscribe button on our YouTube page and tippity-tap that like button. You can comment on my beautiful voice, Josh's beautiful voice. Find us on audio only on Spotify and Google Podcasts. Just search relentlessly for Xbox North Podcast. We're also on Reddit and Instagram. Just take a look for Xbox North Podcast. And for Twitter, @NorthXbox. Because why would we make it easy for you?
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.